Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this Etheria restart video. So in this Etheria restart video, we're going to talk about our Klossless auto Rengokutsu Inferno team. So we did quite a fair bit of testing in terms of consistency. So I would say that Rengokutsu is actually the most RNG based boss because depending on the affinity change ability, depending on whether or not the summons actually debuff your units with silence or defense down, it could actually affect the final outcome of continuous battle. So in this video, we're going to break down my team setting as well as talk about the important mechanics that you definitely need to have in your team or the key requirements for you to auto smoothly. So this team on my account is able to get like 60 plus to 70+% win rate on average. So not the most consistent yet, so I won't put consistent auto farm team on the Rengokutsu side, but feel free to use the team if you don't have Kloss and you do have all this unit that I have built up. So without further ado, let's go into Rengokutsu. So right here, continuous battle. Gonna buy some energy and start the battle. Okay, so I think this team is relatively fixed for myself because for this boss over here, there is this ability for the boss to change the affinity, and this affinity change is based off a specific order. So depending on what affinity the boss starts on, the final damage that the boss is able to do on your units might change accordingly, and that will affect the outcome. But one unit which I think is a must-have would be Lingluo right here. So we use Lingluo, Viper, and Yeli, but I say Lingluo is a must because Lingluo's heal is massive. She's able to keep the sustain going for the team with the ability to dispel once you have the whirlpool ability leveled up. So this will help to reduce the debuff devastation done by the summons, because the summon, one of them can do defense down and the other one can do silence. So this could actually affect the run on auto in a lot of cases, and if Lingluo's not able to dispel, there's a high chance your unit might just fall with the defense down buff, or your units might not be able to output much damage or apply a debuff if they are silenced. So that's why Lingluo is quite crucial. So this is my Lingluo with Cure as well as Evil Guard with this stat line right here. Okay, so next unit we use Viper. So Viper, I'll say it's a good replacement for either number 1 Vice or number 2 Kloss. So Kloss is the best unit as a debuffer because Kloss gives you that damage amplification as well as the speed down, and last but not least, the damage reduction from the boss side or on the bosses. So this means that the boss deals less damage to your team and you're able to do more damage, and everything combined together gives you that much safer auto runs in general. But we do not have Kloss on our account, so we use Viper right here with the passive to reduce the potential crit damage as well as lower the attack and speed with the skill slash ability right here. So you can use Kloss, please use Kloss if you have. And Kloss has another added advantage over Viper, and that is the affinity advantage, because this boss has the ability to apply a debuff. I think it's called Evil Flame, which takes allows your unit or makes your unit takes more damage if you have units from the same affinity taking turns consecutively multiple times. So this is where Viper with Lingluo procs their ability a lot more, and then makes them take more damage, and then they might die easily. So that's that. But if you have Kloss, use Kloss, right? If you don't have Kloss, use Viper in my case. So this is the build. We use Blood Buff to reduce the AoE damage on our Viper right here. And then we have Lily. Lily is our speed tuner. So Lily is from the Disorder faction. So the faction is just nice to fit with Yeli as our main carry. So one of the reasons why I'm not using Vice with Viper is because I'm using Yeli as my carry. So this is my Yeli build with Blood Buff as well as a bit of damage. So this is the stat line for my Yeli right here. And because Yeli is from the constant faction, if we run Vice, the debuff will actually go on our Yeli, and because Yeli is not exactly the tankiest unit, she will die more easily compared to Viper or Lingluo. So that's why I did rather use Viper over Vice. But if your carry is a D-Ting, for example, then what I can advise is for your speed tuner, you might want to use other speed tuners, like for example Tsukuyomi, like for example Doki Doki, for example, if you're using D-Ting. So you kind of want to run as much variations in terms of your affinity in your team so that you reduce the impact of the Evil Flame debuff. So that's the idea of the different ideas. So I've seen people use Fuchu together with Doki Doki, and then they run, for example, Kloss for the debuff or Viper for the debuff, and then they get D-Ting as a carry, right? So you run 4 different affinities and reduce the impact from that debuff, and that's pretty much it for this team setup. So this is my Lily stat line with the gears of Unbreakable and Swift Rush. So I'm not building up another set of blood buff for Lily yet, but I do think that if you do have 3 sets of blood buff built up, then you can definitely equip Lily with blood buff to reduce the chances of her dying. So for my Linglor right here, because she has quite a fair bit of HP with decent defensive stat and also very good healing, she doesn't die that easily, so that's why she doesn't need blood buff. Lily over here might actually be snapped off. I don't know why, but somehow Lily feels more paper compared to Linglor. I guess because of the HP difference. So for Lily's case, I'm using Colossal Guard with Unbreakable, but you can use blood buff if you don't have Colossal Guard with a good Unbreakable artifact or shells or modules or whatever. So that's with regards to this team. So without further ado, let's start the run and then talk about the different caveats. So for this boss fight, the element of the boss, right, which element it starts off affect the final result, because if it starts off from constant, it goes to reason, odd, hollow, and disorder. So disorder means that when the boss hits our carry, which is Yeli in this case, he will be hitting really hard, and Yeli might die because of that extra ignore defense and obviously all the elemental advantage. So this is where this one order or your roll sequence from your second ability is a very major RNG factor which affects your final run. So in this case, I think we should be able to clear it because the boss starts off on constants. So disorder is one of the last few. So right here, the boss is on reason. And another factor to consider which affects the RNG is obviously the 2 summons, whether or not they apply a debuff. And since I'm using Yeli, the Yeli second skill RNG is also another factor, because if I'm really unlucky in terms of the consecutive fire right here, we might not be able to bring the boss down in time before the boss goes into the counter affinity faction for our carry. So with blood buff, we are able to take a lot of damage, and then with Artisan as well as the heals from Linglor, we are able to keep ourselves alive. And Viper right here with that debuff reduces the damage output on the boss such that it creates a healthy environment for our Yeli to output damage. So the boss starting off on constant is amazing because disorder will be the last few faction, and I think by then, based off our DPS speed right here, we should be able to bring Rengokutsu down. So yeah, Linglor is quite important. I think if you don't have Yeli, you can use D-Ting, and then for your speed tuner, you might want to use a non-disorder one. I guess you can use Doki Doki because Doki Doki does have a dispel with damage up. You can also use no, Tsukuyomi is not very good because Linglor's already the blue faction. So I think for the speed tuner, just any speed tuner that is of a different element from your carry is appreciated. So for the debuffer as well as the healer as well, try not to use the units from the same affinity with your carry, because the boss's third ability right here has this ability to apply evil fire after enemies of the same affinity X 4 times cumulatively. So as you guys can see, this evil fire is a 3 stack for both Viper as well as Linglor, whereas it's only like 1 stack for our Yeli and 2 stack for our Lily right here. So this evil flame increases damage tremendously, and yeah, if it's on Yeli, my Yeli would have been dead by now. So that's that. Okay, so other RNG factors include the crit damage potential coming out from the boss, because if the boss actually crits and then the damage that is reduced by Viper's second ability is not that high, our Yeli might still die. So if Yeli dies, the run ends. Basically that's it. So that's the RNG factor. So right now we start on reason. I think reason is still fine because reason we have odd, hollow, disorder. There is a possibility that Rengokutsu might actually go into disorder. There is this possibility that the boss might not might start on like the ideal Blaze War affinity right here, but for the debuffs from the summons, the defense down actually hits our carry or silence the carry, and then that will slow down our DPS or increase the damage that Yeli take. That could also kill our run there. So these are the few factors. There's just a lot of RNG for this boss, but this is my auto Rengokutsu Inferno team right here. Hopefully this video is helpful for you guys, and thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.